So here's another practice where we're gonna use some acupressure points together with yin yoga shapes, and the acupressure points are mainly for the immune system, to boost the immune system. You can read more about it somewhere wherever you found this practice. There should be more information about what is meant by immune system in Chinese medicine. I want this more to be a practice, and there's also more info about the acupressure points. I'm going to quickly show the ones that we're going to use in this practice. So if you've seen this before, you can fast forward this part. There's a kidney point that is very powerful for the immune system, for any type of kind of breath-related, respiratory-related issues, but also for if your mind is a bit scattered, and so for clarity of mind and focus. So for that, you're going to find the soft spot in your throat, and then as you feel into that, there's kind of like a U shape, so you can find the tips of your collarbones. Usually they're easy to find, and you're gonna slide down from it and a little bit out to the first fleshy part that you can sense. And again, always there's a bit of tenderness. So you're going to poke around a bit. And the way we're going to use it, we're going to use the opposite hand on opposite point, and we're going to take a reclined butterfly shape. So you could use it tapping, you could use it just pressure or circling. We're going to go back to lung 1 and lung 2 that I've used a lot in the classes, and you have a choice. So lung 1 is a little bit lower. If you poke around like the pectoral muscle and deltoid muscle, there's like a little bit of a groove there. So the lung 1, and then the lung 2 above it. So lung 1 middle palace, that is again breath related, lung related issues, but also when we need a little bit of kind of a boost of inspiration, reminder of self-worth, and our higher purpose. And then the lung 2 is right underneath the collarbone. Again, you're gonna fish around there a little bit and you find a soft groove, and that's called cloud Kate. And this one's more for maybe when we are in a place of grieving, mourning, depression. This can help to release and relieve that, along with immune system and breath and lung related issues. So those two. We're then going to go at one point on the belly. We're going to use a point that's on your stomach meridian line, not directly related to your immune system, but I find it a really great balancer, and also something that relaxes and calms and settles as it's on the stomach line. So it's 2 thumb width out from your belly button on either side. What we're going to use is a fist on one side, and again I'm going to use it in a posture where we're going to lie on top of a fist. So this one doesn't actually have to be very precise, as we're not using a point. We're going to kind of use the fist in the belly for this whole region. There's kind of many points along the navel, the stomach points here. And then finally coming to once more that we also used in the previous practice and used in other classes a lot, is another stomach one, stomach 36, which is on your leg. So finding the kneecap and what's sometimes called the eyes of the knees, and I'm going to place my 4 fingers just below the kneecap, so it's down along the shin bone, and then 1 thumb width over to the little toe side, to the lateral side. And again, with fingers poking around in it is usually a bit tender. So these are the points that we're going to use. So let's see, how can there be some creative ways how we can use them in the shapes. This class, I've planned it to be more kind of maybe an evening, a soothing one. So I'm going to use a bolster. You could also, if you don't have a bolster, you could just lie flat on your back or use a couple of pillows. I'm going to take my legs into a butterfly shape. You don't have to. So you could also have your legs straight. So whatever works for you, whatever feels restful for you. And this is where I'm going to come to the kidney 27 point up on top of the chest. So finding that soft spot in the throat and the tips of the collarbones, you tracing down a line from it and a little bit outward towards the shoulder. And again, just poke around. There's a soft, fleshy area, and I'm going to cross my arms. So I'm going to have the left hand go to the right side and right hand go to the left side. It's called Elegant Mansion is the name of the point. And once you find it, choose how you want to engage with this point, whether you want to just hold light pressure on this kidney point, water element point, whether you want to circle your fingers around a little bit, or you could also use light tapping. And we're going to hold the points for about a minute or so. I like to feel my breath reaching those points on the inhale and a bit of softening on the exhale. And when you start to use these points more regularly, you start to have a bit of a more relationship with them, and you might even start to notice when something shifts, like when there's a shift of the steadying of the mind, for example. So this one, when the mind is scattered. And that shift might come like just a natural sense of like a sigh or a softening, just noticing a bit of like a physical shift, an emotional shift, a mental shift. And it might be, subtle. So if you don't notice anything, it doesn't mean that it's not working. So let's not get into that mindset. Let's release that mindset. What you're doing is enough. And you could also be your own timekeeper. You could keep holding it. You could release it when you feel that maybe you feel that shift and you feel that it's time to release. So I'm going to release my hands now and just find a comfortable place for them. So if you're a bit elevated, if you use something under your back, you might feel your chest and lungs a bit elevated. So noticing the breath moving. I'm going to try to feel my breath in the side ribs without necessarily needing to breathe more deeply. But just sensing the movement that's there in the sides, in the back of the lungs. And if you had your legs in a butterfly shape, just take a moment to slide them straight. So give the hips a bit of a break. And then I'll step the feet onto the mat. I'll glide over to one side of the bolster so that I can slide the bolster away. And a lot of the rest of the sequence is going to be on the belly. So I'm going to turn and lie on the abdomen. And what I'm going to find initially is I'm going to find either the lung 1 or the lung 2 point. So you could do one on one side and the other on the other side, or if you heard the description or read the description, you might have a preference whether it's the middle palace, the lung 1 that's a little bit lower down. So you stay how you are, and I'm just showing it to you once more. So it's a little bit lower here below the collarbone, and then the lung 2 would be right below the collarbone. And the way I'm gonna use it is I'm gonna have it on, let's say, on the right side. So I'm gonna let the right hand either rest to the side or down, and I'm gonna look for that point while I have my either forehead on the ground, sorry, I should have said, or maybe a block or a pillow under the forehead. So I'm going to try to use my body weight as I poke my fingers either up or a little bit further down. So I'm going to use lung 1 point, and I'll play where do I feel most relaxed. Yeah, I'm going to have the hand on the side. I've just placed my fingers around the little achy point that I found. So left fingers are there. Forehead can be on the ground, or most likely it feels nice to have something under the forehead. And so I'm using kind of gravity, so I don't have to push with my left fingers. I've just located that spot, and then I'm just letting my body weight kind of drop while I hold the point. Again, for about a minute or so. Noticing your ribs moving against ground. I just noticed that I was kind of holding my legs, so letting the legs flop. And again, just not to worry about getting it exactly right. Having that soft intention as we work, helping and boosting our body's defense functions to keep our chi strong and flowing. And using these restful practices to do that. So in combination with acupressure, really potent medicine that we can give ourselves. Let's give it another breath. I'm going to slowly start to release that pressure, and I'm going to slide the right arm out from the shoulder out to the side. Maybe you had it there already. And now we're going to have the yin stretch for that same shoulder. So I'm going to start to roll onto my right side. And you might again use that same block that you had under the forehead now under your head. You can bend your knees so that you can feel it's nice and stable. You're not going to topple or fall. You can have 2 knees stacked, or there is a variation where the top leg, the left foot, comes onto the mat and the knee points up, so you start to kind of release the left buttock towards the ground. That makes it more intense for the shoulder and the tissues in front of that shoulder. So see if that is actually necessary. So we want that mild stretchy sensation, but it's not going to work well if it's going to tense us up because it's too intense. We want to work together with our nervous system. So feel into that calm and settled breath, softness in the belly, trusting your body's signals and moving away from any type of forcing. Maybe that beautiful mantra of, I know I can do more, but can I do less? Can be something that serves us here. as I gently stimulate these fascial lines and energy channels, myofascial connections that run into the arm and affect your lungs and your breath and also your heart. So let's give it another breath. Beautiful. And then I'm going to slowly roll back onto the belly. Maybe pausing for a moment and relaxing through that right arm. So maybe you bring it in a little bit. And then I'll slowly start to come up onto the forearms, and I'm riding that right knee up on the side. So like a lizard shape. We're going to come down onto the belly so that block might still be nice and handy. Let's see if you need it. So my right knee is up, and I'm going to now give you 3 elements that you can choose from. So at any point when you don't like the knee up, you could slide it back down. So that's 1. So there's a little bit of a hip stimulation there. I'm going to take the same right hand and I'm going to thread it now under. So before I was opening it out to the side, now I'm threading it under, not into a twist. It's just simply pinning the arm underneath. So it's the back of the shoulder, and now I'm squeezing kind of shut those parts that I was opening before. So this is where you might like block under your forehead. Before you place your forehead down, the third option here is to make a fist with your left hand and then wiggle that to the left of your belly button. Remember, there was our stomach point there called heavenly pivot. I'll tell you a little bit about it in a moment. So that's the third option. So what the beauty of why I love this shape is you could do just one of those actions. You could skip everything else and just lie with that fist on your belly with your head turned to one side. Or you could choose to have the fist and the arm. So there's all of those things can be combined all together, or every one of them on their own works. So you have options here. If you choose to practice this again, know that you don't have to do all of those 3 actions, but you can. So I have my right hand pinned underneath. I have the right knee out on the side. And I have my left fist to the left side of the belly button. And so as you've set this up, just check in and see, oh gosh, is it too much happening at once? Then what would you eliminate? I'm keeping definitely that acupressure point. I love this one. But again, if it causes in any kind of discomfort, then just skip it. It's not supposed to like hurt or be painful in any way, just a gentle massage. There the acupressure point, but also the enteric nervous system, something called a vagus nerve, having lots of fibers there in the belly. And the nerve that's communicating information between the body and the brain. And so relax soft in the belly, a relaxed jaw. And why I love this point, heavenly pivot, is when we're too much in the head, And then it can help to bring and calm the energy down. But also when we feel maybe overly lethargic and kind of dull, then it can enliven and invigorate. So I'm going to stay for about 5-6 more breaths at any point. Again, as you need to change something, to change, alter. And then I'll slowly begin to release first the hand from the belly, and then I unhook the right arm from underneath. If you had your right leg go straight, slide it back up, because I'm going to slowly start to roll onto that left side. So I'm going to slide now the left hand under, roll onto the left side, and I'm going to slide my left knee underneath the right knee, so I'm lying on my left side, so that I can relax that right hip. Maybe the block is still under your head, and you could just lie on your left side. Or what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a couple of circles with that right arm. I'm not going to open into a twist, though it's your choice, you could. I'm just going to want to feel that shoulder, that right shoulder, front of the shoulder, back of the shoulder. So I'm just going to draw a couple of circles here on the side, one way and the other way. And since we've spent such a long time on the belly, I'm going to just take my rebound on the side. So resting that right hand somewhere where the shoulder can relax. Feeling the left side of the body against the ground, and sensing the breath on the left lung versus the breath on the right side. And then I begin to lengthen again the bottom knee towards the back of the mat, then the top knee, so that I can come back over onto the belly. And then same things for the opposite side. So I started with finding that acupressure point, and I think you'll enjoy something under your forehead for that. So taking my fingers either right underneath the collarbone or a little bit lower, so again, which point resonates. The point that's a little bit lower, as I said, I need a bit of inspiration. And for the Glaucate, that's higher up, might be appropriate, as I said, if you're dealing with some loss, or just need again for a little bit of a reminder of the preciousness of life. That would be that lung 2 point, Glaucate, sorry. Tune into the movement of the lungs against the ground. I begin to release the pressure with the right fingers and sliding the left arm up as I start to roll onto the left side. So the left arm straight out from the shoulder. Maybe still using something under your head, so the head doesn't drop awkwardly, and then beginning to feel that yin stretch now in front of that shoulder into the arm. Choosing to keep your two thighs parallel, resting one thigh resting on top of the other. As I said, there is that option to step now. On this side, it would be the right foot that steps on the ground. So please don't force. The shoulders are more delicate than, for example, when we work the structures around the hips. And so we want to stay really mindful of that. We don't hold the poses here maybe as long as we would for the hips, and stay kind of tuned in to your edge, to our intention here. And then take your time and slowly start to release back onto the belly. A small moment here, brief moment here to feel residue of that shape. And then I'll climb up onto the forearms, and I'm sliding the left knee up. And so obviously it's the same as on the other side. So find a combination of these three compartments of this posture that you wish. Could be all of them, could be just one of them, could be a combination of two. So the left knee can be up. It's the left arm that folds underneath, and forehead either down or on a block or on a cushion, and then it's the right fist that can come to the right side of the belly button. And so can you relax that left thigh? Also the straight leg drops, the straight leg passive, not holding with the muscles. Again, as we stay here, if at any point during the stay you need to release something, the leg or the arm or the fist, so stay tuned in so that you can respond, not like react to the first impulse, but also not ignoring or kind of trying to persevere. Again, giving yourself a couple of breaths to start to plan your exit. So depending a little bit which variation you're in, I'm gonna meet you so that I still have that left leg stretched out to the side, or left knee pointing out to the left, so that I can wiggle myself a little bit, threading the right hand under this time, so I'm rolling onto that right side, and I'm going to bend and slide that right knee as well, so my left knee can just be propped nicely on top of the right. Maybe you still have something under your head. And then I'll start to just circling that left arm. I stay, everything else I'm keeping still. If you want to make it more into where you circle onto your back, which is how we also sometimes, I instruct it, you could. I personally was just kind of interested in the range of the arm moving in its socket. And you can take the circles, you can take it to the opposite direction. And then after a couple of rounds, you could just rest that left arm wherever it feels restful. And our rebound will be lying on the right side. Feeling the breath in the bottom ribs against the ground versus the breath on the top ribs open to the space above. And then I'll begin to reach with the top leg, with the left leg towards the back of the mat, towards the foot side of the mat, pressing down through the arms, and that's what's going to roll me up. I'm going to pivot a little bit so I keep that left leg reaching out, bringing the right heel in. So you can just stay facing whichever way you're facing. I'm just going to turn myself a little bit so I'm angled towards the camera. I'm going to need my block under that right knee to support it. And we'll take a forward fold from here before coming into it. So there's another way we can use the acupressure point. So that's the 3-leg mile point, the stomach 36. So if you remember, that was finding the kneecap, the bottom of the kneecap, or the eyes of the needle, 4 fingers down along the shin bone, and then a thumb width outward towards the little toe side. Again, as I keep saying, poke around a little bit. Probably these points will speak to you with a bit of tenderness. And so I'm going to hold that point once more for about a minute before coming fully into the shape. But you could already be leaning in a bit. And if you have any prop references here, like as if maybe you want your bolster under your knee, you could already have that there. So similarly, you could be adding a bit of a pressure through the thumb or fingers, or a little bit of a circling. And this one is related, yes, to immune system boost, but also I use it often for fatigue, which is when I'm filming this, it's December, the darkest time, close to solstice. So using this point a lot. It's also calming as it's on the earth channel, so it is nourishing, calming and centering while being somewhat invigorating. And in the evening I like to use it together with the calming forward fold. Again, use your own intuition how long you want to hold the point. If at one point, you want to just relax into your forward fold shape, and feel free to, as always, change any variables of the forward fold. What that means is that left leg could be a little bit to the left or straight out from the hip socket, and your torso could be straight over the leg, or you could also experiment the torso, the position of the torso. All of that changes what you feel, where you feel it. So getting curious. And that stillness in no means, to me, that the stillness doesn't necessarily mean that I have to, like my body needs to be completely still and motionless. Also, at any point, you could bring back that acupressure point, so also stay open to that. So let's take another 2 or 3 breaths. And then slowly, slowly walk yourself back up. Let's stay upright for the rebound moment as you slide the right leg straight, maybe hands resting back behind you. Giving it a moment or two. And then taking it up on the opposite side. So you don't necessarily have to do always the acupressure points on both sides. I'm going to, but you could also right away come into a forward fold if you want. And then once you get familiar with the acupressure points, of course you could just have a short practice in the morning, short practice in the evening, which will then only take you a couple of minutes to choose 2 or 3 of your favorite ones and just just use the acupressure on its own. If you do hold the point, can you soften the rest of the body, already beginning to take that yin shape, so to speak? Letting your attention stay in that area, so you utilizing all of these ways that we can move energy. So now we're using the posture itself, the shape, the breath. You're using your mind, your attention, and then also then this very potent tool of pressure, of acupressure. Let it become like a meditation. And then I just leave it very much up to you when you want to release the point. And then I'll slowly begin to release. I'm gonna lie on the back, and this was the last shape of the sequence. So once you kind of let the rebound wash through the body, and if you sense that there's anything else that the body needs, if you want to add a twist, a movement, anything, hugging the knees in, rocking, And then at one point when you feel complete, allowing for a moment of like a longer rebound on the back and coming to stillness. Any support that you need to make that more comfortable, give yourself that. And then once you're ready, there's one more acupressure point that I didn't mention in the beginning that I would like to give you. And this is actually on a gallbladder meridian line, which is at the base of your skull. It's called Gallbladder 20, and it's called wind pool. So it's completely enough to just take your thumbs and again poke around at that occiput, so you stay on your back. But it's kind of coming from the center, kind of feeling this fleshy part of the muscle here coming into your skull and sliding out from that. And again, it's the whole area tends to be tender, but just finding that point there. And so this one's for the, any type of stiffness in the neck and shoulders, but wind is kind of in Chinese medicine viewed something that we really want to protect ourselves against during the winter time, as a lot of the wind is kind of carries in, is the gateway in for a lot of the disease and illness and flu and all of that. So first of all, you want to keep your neck warm, one of the areas that you want to protect, where there can be invasion through. But then this acupressure point can also be used for like colds and flu and fever. So holding that before we settle into Shavasana, into our longer rest. So when you get to that point, then use that again for about a minute or so. Same thing, you could hold pressure, you could circle together with awareness, together with a relaxed breath, trying to keep your shoulders as relaxed as possible here. And similarly, like with other points, sensing when to release. So if you want to hold it for a bit longer, feel free. The moment you feel like, okay, that's been enough, you can relax the arms. Letting the body settle. And so you notice the physical body, but we've done a lot of work on the subtle body through these points. So see if you can sense this inner pulse or aliveness or throbbing